Many of you will be familiar with the title of this video game, and for good reason. It was one of the highest selling racing games in November 2003 and one of the most prolific ever. But do you know the real history behind the game? If you've probably guessed by now, I'm going to tell you the dark tale of the true origin of Need for Speed Underground 2. A lot of the information in this video is a result of deep digging and trawling through thousands and thousands of books, literature and quotations, so strap in because this is going to be a bumpy ride. It all starts back in 1999, when what later became EA Black Box was originally formed as a small game development team named Eggshell Games. This was made up of various ex-developers of a Vancouver-based game development company named Radical Entertaining, which ran from 1992 until 1996. Radical Games quickly disbanded due to various accusations of favouritism and picking the games before the actual development of them. Luckily, due to all of this, the high development team moved over to Eggshell Games and paved the way for some of the most powerful game engines to ever be created. Move forwards to 2001 and the team were once again in turmoil, and sadly, Eggshell Games was quickly rebranded as Black Box Games due to an argument between the two lead members named Stephen Bay and Stephen View. They insisted that the mention of eggs would be enough not to be taken seriously by larger game development companies, and instead agreed that the famous Chanel black eggbox bag would be a better theme for their company. This was a lesser known fact which was actually aired on a technology podcast in early 2017, where the pair admitted to having a discussion about the name of their games company for almost 200 days before coming to a decision. The pair were known for their razor-sharp intellect, and as a result, the decision was not taken lightly. The reason for this choice was not entirely clear, but sources have revealed that the combination of the couple's love for eggs and a high-end fashion resulted in the name of their video game development team. With this decided, the company were now ready to take on some of the biggest names in the industry. After changing to Black Box Games in 2001, they began to work on a pilot for a game named I Need Speed, where the premise of the game was a crash 'em up co-op. Several weeks into development, it became clear that it would be a bad year for racing games, and Stephen View decided that they would work on the graphics for Quake, a game released on its rival platform, the Xbox Original. This is where it starts to become slightly confusing. Stephen Bay would then go on to reopen the development stage with the other half of the Black Box Games team while keeping it a secret from the other half. They would pretend to work on Quake graphics while starting up their new Underground project with its new title, I Need Speed Underground. It was often reported that half the team would quickly close the windows on their computer when anyone from the other half of the team would walk past, which luckily didn't raise suspicion at all. Late in December 2001, the game only being in development for 2 months was almost ready to be released, but there was only one issue. Due to the secrecy of the game, they were unable to use any of the sound effects or music. The funding for Quake was taking up valuable money, and there would be nothing left in the budget to purchase rights for any of the audio required to finish the game. Stephen Bay had two choices. He could either come clean to his partner and hope he would allow the sound to be purchased, or option 2, the dark deal. Move forward to early 2002, and Stephen Bay had set up a meeting with one of his contacts from the sports game giant Electronic Arts, now known as EA. To this day, nobody is certain who the contact was, but what is known is that they would be responsible for one of the biggest mergers of all time. The deal would be to sell half of the rights to half of the Black Box Games, and as a result, EA would fund audio and finish the game to be released the following year. This, however, came at a grave price. Black Box Games, aka Eggshell Games, was now to be rebranded once more as the less popular EA Black Box. To ensure that the team was not in turmoil, all of this was hidden by Stephen Bay, and sources suggest To ensure that the team was not in turmoil, all of this was hidden by Stephen Bay, and sources suggest that he was scared that it would stop the team from any money coming in from Quake. And sources suggest that he was scared that it would stop the money coming in from Quake and any Quake predecessors, and this money was vital for keeping the offices running and the wages coming in, as one of EA's stipulations for the game contract was that Eggshell Games would have to pay all of their costs until the game was released. Late in the year of 2002, and the graphics for Quake were finished, and this was now bringing in a large amount of money. Stephen Bay was now confident that the name change of their company and their secret game had been working on. Stephen Bay was now confident that the name change of their company and their secret game that they had been working on would now be ready to be announced. All he could hope now is that his partner wouldn't be betrayed by his actions. A meeting was set up in a local park to set the tone as a casual event, which was done so that none of the staff were spooked. It was believed that Stephen Bay actually spoke from a grass verge slightly higher up than the staff to gain their trust, and then he proceeded to tell the other half of the team. To much relief, they were very understanding for the most part, and only several people expressed their feelings about leaving the company. All was not lost, as Stephen Bay assumed that EA would fill all of the spaces by the large amount of staff members that they already had. Early 2003 soon came around, and EA were pressing for a release date now, so Early 2003 soon came around, and EA were now pressing for a release date, and this was time to strike. EA Black Box. Early 2003 soon came around, and EA were pressing for a release date, so now was the time to strike. EA Black Box was now renamed to EA North to coincide with the launch of the finalised game, which had also been renamed to Need for Speed Underground 2, which coincided with the previous game that EA had taken over from another company. The rest from here is history, and game sales began to soar far beyond expectations for the developers, and as a tribute to the pair's fantastic efforts, their names were later patched into the game, and the city was renamed Bayview, as a reminder for their resilience. It is believed there are very few copies still in circulation in which the city was named its original title of Northside. So there you have it. This was the dark side and the secret underbelly of the makings of Need for Speed Underground 2. Next time you are playing, look out for some of the hidden Easter eggs which point to the struggle and determination of the game development team. Thanks for watching.
I would subscribe to Pinecast, but my mouse is broken.